Hello, I'm Chris Osmond, and this is my take. Today, I'd like to provide basically an economic system that I think we need to move towards and leaving capitalism in the rearview mirror. I say this because capitalism is failing far too many people these days, and it's no longer a sustainable economic system for far too many people. Capitalism is harming the community. Capitalism is allowing a small set of people to basically control and manipulate the lives of everyone else. So let's get started. The name of the economic system that I'm proposing would be called Compassionism. So let's go through the basic points of Compassionism. Now, of course, this is not an exhaustive or extensive list of the things that would need to change. Obviously, there are a lot of nuances to every economic system. This, however, will be the first of many posts discussing the different aspects of Compassionism. First off, in Compassionism, there will be no business owner who makes more than their employees to the point where their excessive wealth actually causes harm to the employees or the community. This I see as a necessity because we have so many business owners nowadays that are making so much money while they have employees who are reliant on safety net programs like welfare and SNAP. Just look at the Waltons. That family they're all billionaires. I mean, the offspring of Walton, they're all billionaires. Yet they sit there and say that everybody can become a billionaire, and they don't think about the plight of their employees. Now, this is something that we must consider. Instead of us looking at our own situations and ignoring the situations of others, we should be more compassionate towards those in our community. That's why I have a saying that goes, the plight that you ignore could become your fate. Next, there should be no billionaires until every man, woman, and child has everything that they need to survive. This one should be obvious to most people, but there are so many out there who think that billionaires deserve everything they get. This doesn't make any sense when a billionaire already has everything they need, and they have way more than they actually need. They have an excess of wealth that is actually causing harm to others, to millions of people. Now, why would any civil society agree to such requirements that billionaires deserve everything they get when they obviously don't care about the people in their community? Because if they were to look and pay attention to the harm that their excessive wealth is causing due to the inequality in their society, they might not want to continue to do so. But I doubt that any billionaires out there now are thinking in such a manner. That's why, therefore, the highest wage in a company should only be a certain percentage compared to the lowest wage. There have been countries around the world that have instituted such policies where the CEO can only make 25% more than the lowest paid employee, or 40%, or whatever number everybody can agree upon. In any business, especially the older businesses, every employee should be able to afford everything they need without depending on things like welfare, SNAP, and other safety programs. Now, of course, we know that smaller or new companies can't really afford to pay all that is required to cover the wages of their employees. So, of course, those smaller companies will get subsidies, and those subsidies will last for a certain amount of years to allow that company to get on its feet. But after a certain point, those small companies do grow, and they should be able to stand on their own. Now, old companies, they should no longer get subsidies. They should no longer be subsidized. Just look at Walmart. They still get subsidized basically because so many of their employees rely on food stamps like SNAP, like welfare. And this money comes from our tax dollars. This is not money that Walmart comes off of. This is money that each and every one of us pay into our taxes. And then Walmart benefits to the tune of $1 million per Walmart store. Why should Walmart stores be subsidized to the tune of $1 million per store? This makes little to no sense. Now, as far as the ways in which, this economic system would deal with an individual's wealth, that would have to be determined. Right now, I'm just providing the basis for how businesses should be operated in a common sense and a way that basically is much more compassionate to the majority of your citizens. Now, along with this system of compassionism, I also think that we should look at open source economies. This is basically where people are allowed to actually have more input into everything that you're building. For instance, software that's open source. Everybody has access to the core software, the core programming, and they can actually improve upon it. So instead of you having place companies like Microsoft, where it's limited to say 100,000 employees or however many programmers Microsoft you have millions of people that are looking at this software and trying to improve upon that software. Now I know people will say that, oh yeah, but you also have a bunch of hackers trying to cause harm. Microsoft still has all these hackers. The hackers aren't going to go away, and they're not going to be diminished just because it goes from a closed loop to an open loop, to an open source economy. As a matter of fact, you will have the same amount of hackers going after these open source programs, but on top of that, you also have a lot of white hat hackers that are basically trying to improve the software and improve the security of the software. So instead of 100,000 programmers looking at your software, you have millions and millions around the globe looking at your software and finding ways to improve upon that software. The other thing that I attribute to an open source economy is it provides proof that people will be still willing to make the society better, to do things, to innovate, regardless of how much they're getting. Because a lot of open source people, they don't necessarily get the pay that someone at Microsoft or one of these other big companies gets. But they still try to improve the products and the software that they are partaking in. This goes for a lot of different systems. For instance, consider the Linux operating system. Nowadays, you can get a Linux operating system for free. You can put it on your laptop, you can put it on your desktop. Whatever computer you put it on, it improves the performance of the computer, as well as limiting the amount of hacks that you have to deal with. This is something that I came across years ago because I had remember seeing where I think it was Germany was considering not using Microsoft Windows anymore, as well as Microsoft Office, because of the expense that it incurred in keeping up with the licenses. Now, everything is licensed per year, so you can't even buy software anymore. You can't buy Microsoft Office. You basically have to rent Microsoft Office. And that's why I say that America and the world in general, we're all moving more towards a feudal system where there's a small group of people that own everything and the rest of us basically just rent everything from that small group of people. So let's move on. Another site that I think you should visit, it's called Open Source Ecology. There is you'll find a gentleman who's basically building the 50 machines that would be required to rebuild civilization. Let's say there's some dystopian thing that happens in the future and everything falls apart. He has put online for free all of the designs that he has created, all of the blueprints that he's created for the 50 most important machines to rebuild society. There, you can also find out how to build these machines. You can get a lot of the blueprints that he's actually put up online already for free. And he hasn't built all 50 of the machines yet, but he is going through each one. And he basically shows the way that his machines are more sustainable and more cost effective. Like, for instance, the thing that I remember the most was he had built a tractor that instead of costing $100,000 like our modern day farming equipment costs, this tractor costs like 18 grand or 12 grand or something like that. And it could do the same work as a tractor that was $100,000 or more. He also provides education to people. Like, for instance, the latest thing I've seen on his site is he offers classes where he can teach people how to build their own house in 6 weeks. Now, this is something that is becoming more and more important as fewer and fewer people can actually afford to buy their first home. Now, there are different means and methods for building houses, and I'd like to discuss the next one, which is called the Earthship. Now, in Earthship, you pay for the design from the gentleman, but the promise that the Earthship holds for everybody is once it's built, for the most part, you have no utilities because everything about the house is renewable. The only expense you might have with the Earthship once you've built it is dependent upon your local laws. For instance, some communities require that you have, let's say, a septic system. In those communities, you have to build a septic system. Now, the house does have a septic system, but like I said, some laws in certain communities require that you have this separate septic system. As for the house itself, almost every feature in the house is renewable. It's a self-sustaining home where you do not end up having any bills. Maybe you'll have to pay for like cable or the internet, things like that. But as far as your electricity, it's powered by the solar that's built into the house. As far as the water, it does rainwater catchment. As far as the septic system, you utilize it so that it continuously is renewed and recycled. So you may have, clean water from the rain catchment that you utilize, it's filtered, and then you utilize it to brush your teeth, to drink. And then that water that you spit out into the sink or use in the toilets, that water then goes out to gray water or black water. And eventually it ends up in your landscape, your yard. And it actually fertilizes a yard. There have been instances of earthships where they've been built out in very desolate kind of desert situations or locations, but the landscaping around those homes actually flourished and grew because of the reused waste and septic system that was built into the home. So these are just a few of the different ways that I believe we can move away from capitalism, because capitalism is causing more and more people harm than it is helping the vast majority of people. And that's only going to continue to get worse, because capitalism it's not basically that we have unregulated capitalism. It's not that that's an exception to the rule and that we can continue to bring it back in, because we've done that over the years. Look at history, where the programs like Social Security were developed, and it brought out a lot of elderly people out of poverty. Instead of them having to work all their lives and dying impoverished, those people were given an income, basically due to what they were paying into the system throughout their careers. Now, in the years since Social Security was developed, you've had nothing but the rich basically trying to end Social Security for the vast majority of people. They wanted to privatize it under George W. Bush. Basically, they wanted to make everybody invest in stocks and bonds and make everybody an investor, which doesn't make any sense. But regardless, like I said, capitalism is proving not to be beneficial to far too many people. So it is therefore an unsustainable system that we cannot continue to rely upon. So as the weeks go by, I will continue to address different aspects of what I call compassionism, economic system that I believe might benefit more people in society and cause less strife. I think the next post I'm going to do is going to be about the resources around America and the world, and how, we have these resources. We have fights over these resources, but do we really need to be fighting over a lot of the resources that are available today? Thank you.
As with the book entitled Solutions, enough complaining, let's fix America. Questions will be asked here to help the masses separate facts from the lies and misinformation our leaders tell us every day. For more tools to help you help your friends and family, get the book mentioned above at Amazon.com today.